Training camp is just about wrapped up, ADP is shifting every single day, and drafts are happening non-stop. If you've drawn the 108 spot in this year's fantasy football draft, or you just want to scout out what your opponent's going to do, then this is the video for you. First things first, the good news is that this year's first round is absolutely stacked, so even at pick 8, you're getting a really strong player. The bad news is you're probably missing out on that very top tier of superstars, but don't worry because there's still plenty of league-winning talent in this range, and in the second round you're probably going to get a really good player too. Here are the most likely names that you're going to see when you're facing the clock at pick 8. Christian McCaffrey, Malik Nabers, Derrick Henry, and Nico Collins. Let's start with some players to target. Christian McCaffrey, absolute legend, particularly in fantasy football. He's 29 years old though, and that's scaring a lot of drafters, but he's only played more than 11 games once in the last 4 years. But when he's on the field, we know that he's a fantasy cheat code. We're talking elite pass catching, explosive runs, someone who's literally won championships for people only 2 years ago. Reports out of OTAs said he was a full go, and that's followed through a training camp where all the other running backs are injured around him, but he still keeps going out there every single day and training well. Yes, Isaac Guerrero looked good in 2024 and could steal touches, but even with a slight workload dip, CMC's ceiling is so high that when he's healthy, we have to consider him a top 5 running back, and those, they just don't grow on trees. Malik Nabers, absolute breakout star in 2024, 109 catches, broke Puka Nakua's rookie wide receiver record for catches, and we'd be talking about him more if Brock Bowers hadn't got even more than Nabers did. Nabers finished 6th among wide receivers last year in fantasy points, and the quarterback situation wasn't even that good. You go back, he had 4 different quarterbacks last year throwing him the ball. Now either Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart are going to be an upgrade, better in yards per attempt, better in completion rate, and they should make life much easier for Malik Nabers. Neither of them are elite, but they will absolutely be an upgrade on that disaster. Nabers still doesn't have much target competition. There's only Wan'Dale Robinson there. So unless something wild happens, Malik Nabers is set up for another top 10 finish at wide receiver. Don't sleep on Nico Collins. Since 2023, Collins has been one of the very best in the league at yards per out run versus man coverage. Last year, for weeks 1 through 5, he was the wide receiver 2 overall, averaging 21.6 points per game before injuries got in the way. This year, absolute unquestioned alpha. Tank Dell might miss the entire season. Christian Kirk has always struggled to stay healthy, and then you've got 2 rookies behind him who are unproven. According to Fantasy Points, Collins is the only wide receiver ranked top 10 in yards per out run versus both man and zone in back-to-back years. That's incredible. Yes, there's injury risk there. He hasn't stayed healthy over the last couple of years, but the upside is massive, and really, he's a guy who could be a sneaky candidate for wide receiver 1 overall. Now, of course, not every big name is a good pick at 108. Puka Nacua. A few weeks ago, Puka wasn't even making it this far in drafts, but concerns about Matthew Stafford's health has seen him plummet. Now, Davante Adams helps the Rams overall. Puka's been consistent with 6.6 catches per game over 2 years, but he's only had 9 touchdowns in 2 seasons, and that's a problem. It's not hard to imagine that Davante Adams becomes a touchdown target for them as well, having been elite there even over the last couple of years. If Stafford's healthy, I get taking Puka here, but if not, you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback. And at this draft slot, with this wealth of talent in the first round, it's just too rich for me. Brian Thomas Jr. was a league winner in 2024, no doubt. 10 touchdowns, huge late season production, but touchdowns can be really volatile. Now he has Travis Hunter coming in for real target competition. All the drumbeat out of camp is that Travis Hunter is going to play more on offense than he does on defense. Brian Thomas belongs in the top 15 picks, but not this early in the first round. Derrick Henry. Finally, we're talking about him. The man is just a monster. 1,953 all-purpose yards, 16 touchdowns last season. Absolute incredible season for a running back of his age. But he is 31 years old. He did just have a 4.4% target share, the lowest of any top 2 round running back. The Ravens have hinted that they're going to rotate their backs more. Keaton Mitchell's been making noise in camp. John Harbaugh said they want to keep 4 running backs on the active roster. It's just a little too easy to see Henry just being slightly less efficient this year. When you compare him to the elite wide receivers who are available in this patch, I think I'd just rather take one of them instead. So what's the plan if you're drafting from the 8th spot? If you grab a wide receiver like Nabers, you can still find running backs like Bucky Irving or Devon Achane in the second, plus you'll have access to elite quarterbacks and tight ends. One of George Kittle, Jaden Daniels are probably going to make back to you in round 3. If you go running back early, you can snag guys like Drake London or AJ Brown in the second. So hero RB builds in this format really makes sense. You take a running back in either round 1 or 2, and then make sure that you've got a wide receiver as your other pick. It's hard to completely ignore the dual running back start, but if you do that, when you get to round 3, you'll really have to prioritize going wide receiver for a couple of rounds and might not be able to scoop up value of falling running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. We're going to use the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard to mock draft. It's insanely customizable. You can sync your leagues to it, automatically copy your settings, and then it'll adjust the rankings for that. You can choose which experts' rankings and insights you see, including mine, which are part of the expert consensus rankings of over 100 people from across the industry. There's no waiting around for other people, nobody taking 6 kickers. Instead, we mock quickly, get feedback quickly. So check out the link in the description below to start your own mock drafts right now. For this one, we're going to use the 2025 season, half PPR for this format, and we'll use a snake draft, of course, picking out of the 108. We'll use a pretty normal roster construction of 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, a flex, and a kicker defense, and then 6 bench spots. This will replicate what a lot of you see in your home leagues. If your home league likes to go really running back heavy, you might want to adjust the running back positional values to high, slightly high, maybe even very high, but today I'm going to leave it as it is. So this draft plays out in a fairly normal fashion. Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Malik Neighbors, leaving us at the 108 with a choice of Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, Derrick Henry, Brian Thomas. I am going to go with Christian McCaffrey. Look, no risk it, no biscuit. We're trying to play for first place. That's what we're interested in here. In the second round, we could go Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Drake London. I think that Chase Brown has been undervalued all off-season, so let's go with a dual RB start and see if we can make it work. It might look a little bit ugly. T. Higgins comes back as the top wide receiver, and I have no problem with him. He was an absolute dog last year when he returned from injury. He averaged almost 18, 19 fantasy points per game. In round 4, it's hard to turn down George Kittle here. We're going to have a poor wide receiver room behind T. Higgins when you compare it to some of these other teams who've got like 3 wide receivers by this point. George Kittle in the 4th, smashed out all day. So when it does come back around to us, you can see we're going to be stuck with the likes of Devonta Smith, Courtland Sutton as our wide receiver 2, which isn't ideal, but Courtland Sutton was really good in the red zone last year, seemed to click very quickly with Bo Nix, so we can probably make it work. In round 6, I could take Xavier Worthy or Zay Flowers. Look, 2 guys on really good offenses, but right now with this build, I just need a little bit more volume. Calvin Ridley has been over 1,000 yards in each of his last 3 seasons when healthy. He's scored 6 touchdowns, and I think that Cam Ward is absolutely going to be an upgrade that's meaningful for him, so we'll take him there. And then we'll take Jalen Waddle to try and just recover our wide receiver room to a point where it looks a little bit more respectful. So now through 8 rounds, we've got T. Higgins, Courtland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, and Jalen Waddle. It has made up for the running back room a little bit. Now, this is the area of the draft where running backs are starting to disappear. So let's take Zach Charbonnet. The Kenneth Walker injury situation looks, I don't know, doesn't feel great. It's worth keeping an eye on. And Zach Charbonnet last year had 3 top 8 running back weeks when Kenneth Walker was out. In round 9, let's take Emeka Egbuka. By the time you do your draft, Egbuka's ADP could be higher than this. We've been using Jalen McMillan could be out for half the season. Chris Godwin, we know, is going to miss several weeks as well. I'd be comfortable taking Emeka Egbuka in round 6, round 5. Whatever you feel you need to do to get him, I think he's absolutely going to pay off cost this year. In round 10, we'll take Braylon Allen and hope that perhaps Breece Hall gets traded or just falls out of favor and it becomes Braylon Allen's job. Round 11, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is absolutely worth that pick. We had Matthew Berry on the channel. You can go and check out that video after this, and he talked about how he does expect Chris Rodriguez to play a decent bit, but Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has all the tools to run away with that job. So we need a quarterback. Our choice here kind of comes down to Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, or Drake May. Look, we've already said that we think that George Kittle is going to be a good value here, so why not take the stack with Brock Purdy? I think there's going to be insane volume between the 2 of them this year, and I don't think the Niners secondary is going to be good, so they could end up in a lot of pass-heavy scripts. Round 13, our last pick before we get to kicker and defense. Straight choice between a running back or a wide receiver here. Let's take Woody Marks. The reports around Joe Mixon's health have been really poor, really worrisome, and I think that Woody Marks as a pass-catching running back is the kind of guy that we want to take upside swings on late in the draft. We'll take the Ravens defense. They look set to be a better unit this year, adding Malachi Starks, Jair Alexander, and then in the last round, we'll take Chase McLaughlin from the Bucs as our kicker. They should score a lot of points. We want kickers on teams that score a lot of points. The mock drafts wizard gave us a B+. That feels harsh, so let's click through and see what we've got, where we could have done better. So the big what if we'd selected Drake London at the 2.5 and drafted a running back later, your score would have been 33 points higher. Well, look, they're projected to score the third most fantasy points in this league. That's good enough to get into the playoffs, and funky things happen in the playoffs, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. We had the Niners mega stack with Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle. I'm completely good betting on that. And then we got two of the top 4 sleepers. Braylon Allen is the number 3 running back in consensus sleeper rankings. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is number 4. So plenty of fun there. And Derek Brown of Fantasy Pros likes to draft more than any other expert. I appreciate that, Debo. So this team finished Christian McCaffrey, Chase Brown, T. Higgins, George Kittle, Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle, Zach Charbonnet, Emeka Egbuka, Braylon Allen, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Brock Purdy, Woody Marks, Baltimore Ravens defense, and Chase McLaughlin. I like this one. It's not always easy starting dual running back, but I think we made it work with just sheer volume at wide receiver between rounds 3 and round 9. Plenty of rookie upside, plenty of experience to get touches, and this one feels like a winner to me. So that is our draft from the 108 and how I would approach that strategy. Go and check out this video with Matthew Berry where we talked about some players where the ADP, it just feels wrong.